ただの騎士候補生が随分と無礼な口を聞くじゃないか。
申し訳ありません。
何に対しての謝罪だかわからないな。何をしたのか自分の口でちゃんと言え。
私は転送してまで天下に溜まったまま騎士候補生の訓練に潜り込んでいました。誠に申し訳ありません。
上出来だ。
All right, my friend. They did it again. 7th time loop. This is episode number 10 that we just got done watching. Just as a reminder for everybody, winter season is coming to... I don't even know what that was. It's coming to a close, though. And there is 2 episodes left. So there's 11 and 12 left. So we have 2 weeks left of 7th time loop. And although the end is nigh, and I don't think we're going to see the beginning of the war or anything kind of really like a big deal. I don't think we're going to see some big deal. I think they're going to leave us on a really big cliffhanger intentionally. With this show, I feel like it's been pretty popular, but that doesn't always equate to a season 2. So, you know, hopefully by the end of the season, maybe we get like a announcement at the end of the season, like, hey, we'll see you next time. It's just something that, you know, kind of gives that hint of like the story will be continued, just to kind of drive that hope open for a season 2. Because this show, I really feel like is something that deserves a season 2. And I feel like there's enough source material for a season 2. And I think that they're kind of doing the right things here. Unfortunately, like I said, I think we are leading up to a big cliffhanger. We'll probably see maybe like the remnants of... I don't even want to say the beginning of the war, because really there's like about... So the war starts in 5 years. We don't know how much time Rishe has really spent with Prince Arnold so far, but let's say she's half a year in. There's a chance that the actual war beginning is still, you know, roughly 4, if not close to still 5 years out. So I don't think we'll see the remnants of the war. I just think that we're starting to see some of the pieces. So maybe the end will have a special moment between Arnold and Rishe. Maybe the end will have the Emperor, because we know that Arnold ended up killing his father to take the throne. Maybe we'll see something cool like that, but I wouldn't really get my hopes up too high just based on what they've given us and considering how we're leading in to episode number 11 with the black powder stuff that occurred. But regardless, let me take it back to the beginning where I said they did it again. I think that I have continually said this show has done an amazing job of building intrigue and leaving us with that, like, you know, that craving to have like that one more moment with the show, and they have like a twist or a turn or something. And they've been doing it really, really flawlessly and smoothly. And that has built up a really great experience, at least for me. I know I've been feeling that every single week. But let me take you through the events of this episode. So basically, again, Rishe is participating in the training that happens. She meets up with Duke or Count Lowell, something like that. But the white-haired dude, who Arnold ends at some point, which we don't know his whole story, but we find out from him, because Rishe is really conflicted and stuff as she's practicing. We find out from him that in the previous war, where Arnold was also a badass, his son died in that war, and he kind of is telling Rishe to go find her purpose and find the specific thing that only she can do, which I think is such a beautiful lesson for all of us, because at some point, I think, you know, whether you're a kid or you're old, I think we all get lost in a way of seeing like, well, what am I here to do? And I think kind of repositioning that back to finding only something you can do, right? I think this is such a cool thing, and that you can make that into anything. But if you look deep within yourself, you're like, okay, I think I want to go down this path. I think it's such a cool thing, especially now for Rishe. It's like, okay, find something only you can do. And he's giving her this advice, not really knowing, or maybe he does know, but we don't know for sure, but not really knowing that she's the princess or the, you know, the future empress or the fiance of Arnold. He's just doing this as like a human being giving her this advice. We find out that his son, you know, passed in the last war, and because his son passed in the last war, he tells her like, although I have pride and that he went out and everything, but it doesn't, all that pride and everything, he's basically saying I would trade that to have him here again. And I think we can all sympathize with that feeling. And it really humanizes him as a character, not only for Rishe, who didn't quite know who he is, but then for us as the viewers, I think it just really humanizes his character. Then, we have all of the different stuff that happens with the professor and with Prince Kyle. And, she ends up not signing a deal, but, coming to a verbal agreement with Prince Kyle about partner with me first, and then we'll go tackle Prince Arnold together. And I like how Kyle is being represented as somebody who's sucking up his pride because he has nothing. He has nothing to lose here. He's trying to protect his country by partnering with this nation. He's willing to throw anything and everything on the line, and you have to respect that in a way. And I love being able to see that. And he drives a deal because Rishe wants to save him too, because she interacted with him, and she runs us through. She interacted with him during three lives. So as a trader, as an herbalist, and as an alchemist. So she has a lot of history with this guy. So she, based on all her interactions, she's like, I need to save this guy, is good for the world kind of thing. And I think we can all appreciate that too, of when we have witnessed maybe somebody from political power, or maybe somebody who's just famous, or somebody who is a philanthropist or something. There's certain folks that you meet that you're like, this person is bettering the world with whatever it is, right? So I think we can all really respect that. So I love that it has nothing to do about anything else, but like, she's like, this person is good for the world. And I like how she feels about that. Then we transition into the professor stuff, and we find out basically like, he's crazy. And we get the professor's backstory of like, one of those, it's very typical in Japan when they do their storytelling. Japanese authors tend to do this a lot. And I have to reference that specifically because I think in the West, I haven't really seen that much media, whether it be TV or cartoons or movies. I don't really see that particular writing style too often. But in Japanese media, especially anime specifically, like manga or light novels or anime, which, I mean, anime derives from light novels and manga and stuff. But I see the child being blamed for the mother's death. And it happens all the time. And the child's always the innocent party in that one, right? Mother dies giving birth to the child or whatever. It's not the child's fault. You know what I mean? Like on a technical circumstance, you could say, well, giving birth was the cause, especially if you had somebody who had was in a weak state or something like that. Like in that sense, it makes sense, but it's not directly like, it's not like the child grabbed the knife and went like, it's not the child's fault in that sense. But I see that a lot in Japanese writing, is like the child being blamed for the mother's, and that lingering, or that consensus around an empire or whatever, like, oh, they killed your mother, or you killed the queen, or you killed the. It happens a lot. So we find out about this professor guy that he was blamed for his mother's death for, again, no reason. Harbinger of death. Basically, his dad's just a freaking dick and a prick. But that led him down the path that he did, and I'm not going to spend time because you saw it, but he discovers the black powder stuff, and Rishe doesn't, she doesn't react to the black powder stuff. And I don't really know how prevalent the black powder came in. Did Arnold end up getting it in the war? We don't know what the black powder ended up being, but we know that the professor discovered it, and she tried to stop him in her past life and was unsuccessful. Now the professor may have found his target for the black powder's use earlier than before. So she has to figure out how to manage this black powder stuff, which I think it's okay if that is given to Arnold. At least she can be semi in control over its uses. And like, I think it's probably the best case scenario that Arnold does take the black powder, because Rishe can influence what happens with it more. But hey, I digress on that. It's only my thought. And then on the opposite, she has to figure out this Kyle stuff. And then, whatever ends up coming else, because she has years before the war really gets started. So just based on all of that, so much happened in 20 minutes, and I just love this show for it. And I like how we're continually seeing more of her past lives come into play. Like as the show progresses, more of her past lives get unraveled. Like in this one, We got to see her trader life a little bit, her herbalist life a little bit, her alchemist life a little bit, and kind of how her interactions happened in the past. And we're beginning to kind of see the unraveling of like this one, her last life when she was the alchemist with the professor. She was left back in the country with Kyle. So we can surmise that because she was left behind with Kyle, when they got invaded by Arnold, that's how she met her. And again, picking at straws here, but we can conclude that that's generally how it happens. So again, we're getting that more unravelment of how when the show first started, she was like, my first life and it ended at war. My second life and they ended up war. Or my third life and I got caught up in war. My fourth life and I got caught up in war. It's like we're starting to see more of, okay, well, now I can understand what that really meant is you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, at least in that life. So that makes a lot of sense. All right. I went on way too long. Show's awesome. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next episode. Peace out, my friend.